also introduce everyone to Mr. Bains. He's been with ISKA for, I don't know, how long have you been with, or were you with Hachi?
Yeah, since 87.
Since 87, so that's what, like 33 years. So he's a long time ISKA sensei, been with us for many, many years. And he's a doctor of education. And I just wanted to make sure everybody knows that he is a member of the family, the ISKA family, and is here to share with us some of his thoughts on how to get through challenging times. And like I said, what we do 3 times a week is one way of doing that, but I'm sure he's got some other tips to share with us. I'll turn it over to him. You have the floor, Mr. Bains.
Thank you, Hanji. So really what we're going to talk about today is an extension of what you're doing as Karateka, as what we're all doing as students of Karate. And that's what this presentation is about. Because I want to make sure that we're able to connect this information to what we're already doing and what we already know. So, you know, the circumstances in which we're finding ourselves is this. We've got this thing called COVID. That's caused the whole world to change. The economy is in a goofy situation, unlike we've experienced in our lifetime. There's madness going on in Minnesota and now across the nation. There's goofy stuff going on with China and the United States. The world is not what it was when we left it prior to closure. And in all of that, we are asking ourselves, where are we going after all this? And where are we going now? What should we be doing? And that's really what I want to focus on. A lot of people, all of us, are experiencing this thing called stress. And I want you to remember 3 words in this definition: mental, emotional, and circumstances. Mental, emotional, and circumstances. These 3 words also apply to our karate practice. And I'm going to be showing you how. So, because of stress, folks are either over-medicating or they're taking pills that they really shouldn't be. People are overeating, people are drinking. We recently saw in the Ozarks people having a Vegas experience at the beach. There's all kinds of interesting things going on with people's relationships, so people's responses. How I am responding, how you are responding is different from what you have ordinarily responded under different circumstances. And the question is, what do we do? And I'm reminded of this wonderful quote. In times of change, learners inherit. Oops, excuse me. There it is. All right, there it is. Got it. Learners inherit the earth, while the learned find themselves beautifully equipped for a world that no longer exists. And the question for you and for me is, are you the learned or are you a learner? Because part of the reason why we're experiencing stress and anxiety is because we've got the learned mindset. We are still thinking, behaving, feeling under circumstances prior to closure. And the world that we're in right now is very different, and it's going to be different after closure lifts. So we have to ask ourselves, am I a learner or am I learned? Am I of growth mindset or am I of mindset that's always been? Okay? And we have to ask ourselves these questions because they are going to determine the stress and the anxiety that we're experiencing. The theme that is going to run through today's presentation is the wise words of Master Funakoshi. Karate begins and ends with courtesy. And I want you to ask yourself this very important question. How courteous are you with your thoughts, feelings toward yourself? How critical are you on a daily basis? How kind are you to yourself at any given time? How courteous, responsive are you toward others? Are you snippy? Are you irritable? The thing about irritation and being snippy, remember it begins with us. If we're snippy, angry at others, that's because we're angry, irritated towards ourselves, first and foremost. I'm highlighting these words of Master Funakoshi because courtesy begins and ends with us first and foremost, not with anybody else. So, and that goes back to the mindset, it goes back to the feelings, it goes back to the behaviors in which we engage. They will produce anxiety if our thoughts, feelings, and our behaviors are not of a courteous mindset to begin with. You know, one of my favorite quotes is by Dr. Viktor Frankl. He said, everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, and that's to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. The reason why I'm bringing up Dr. Frankl is because of the fact that he was a Holocaust survivor. He spent 4 years in various concentration camps. He lived to tell about that experience, and he, as a result, created what's called logotherapy, which is a Viennese school of psychoanalysis. You may read about him in a book called The Meaning of Life. So for a man, for a human being to have gone through all that suffering, to conclude that it's your attitude independent of circumstances, and that you have the ability to choose your own way based upon your attitude. We have to ask ourselves at any given time, what is your attitude? What is your attitude toward others? But most importantly, what is your attitude toward yourself? Okay? That is going to determine the experience you are going to have, not only with yourself, but with those around you. Especially in a relationship, especially if you've got young children. Children are going through this in a very horrible way. I, as a professional educator, get to see that through distance learning and how children are just responding so emotionally. They don't know what to do. And as parents, I can only imagine and I'm going to call it trauma that you're experiencing also. So I'm saying attitude is key to how you are going to experience the circumstances that you are finding yourself in. And I want you to remember something. Attitude is comprised of what? It's comprised of your thinking, how you feel, and how you behave. Okay? It's also comprised of perspective. And we're going to get into that. I want you to take a look at this picture, and I want you to ask yourself, what is this young man saying to this girl? And feel free to speak out. What do you think he's saying to her?
That's a trick question. Look on his face says, I'm going to strangle you.
Anybody else?
I think it looks like he's consoling her in some way.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. So that actually wasn't a girl. That was a dog. So perspective, remember, perspective. I painted a perspective for you and you took it without question. Now, had I framed the question a bit differently and I said, what do you think's going on in this picture? You may have looked more carefully at her hair, its hair, and said, you know, I don't think that's a girl. I think that's a dog. So perspective, how you see things, is going to determine the reality that you're going to experience. So I want you to keep that in mind. Here's another visual on perspective. If you look at this cylinder, on the left side of the wall, it's a square. On the right side, it's a circle. And right in the middle, it's a cylinder. Each one of these perspectives is true. Just as the perspective that Hanshi presented here, he said he wants to strangle her. Okay. Why is this important to know? It's important to know about perspective because perspective is what? It's nothing more than a vantage point. Perspective is a vantage point among a continuum of vantage points. And they're all true. And you get to choose the vantage point you want to experience. So if the perspective you're holding right now is not working for you, you can change it. And here's what I mean by that. If you're experiencing a lot of stress and anxiety, and let's say it's related to social relationships, you're not able to get out as much. You're not able to connect with the people that you wanted to as much. The perspective you hold is causing that stress and anxiety. Changing your perspective is going to help you experience your reality differently. Now, there are many exercises in which you could engage in that, and we don't have time for that. But I want you to be aware of the fact that you have choice in the viewpoint or the vantage point that you choose to experience life. You don't have to rely upon the vantage points that you've always relied upon. Remember, this is a different reality. And that goes back to what we said at the beginning. Are you a learner or are you the learned? Emotional intelligence is very, very, very important as part of attitude. Okay, going back to Dr. Frankl's work. And I put here something that Master Nishiyama was always emphasizing emotional stability whenever he used to come to Fresno to teach us. He was always say emotional stability as part of mental preparation. Okay. So what is emotional intelligence? It's your ability to remain stable, independent of circumstances. Oftentimes we take a look at what we're in to determine what we're going to think, how we're going to feel, and how we're going to respond. As Dr. Frankl said, it's your attitude that determines the circumstances. And I want you to ask yourself this very important question. What is the extent of your emotional stability at any given time? We should be practicing emotional stability in our karate. And are you operating? Let me rephrase that. Are you engaging in karate kihon with anger, with aggression, with stability, with joy? What is your state of emotionality when you practice your karate? That's number one, and that's a question only you can answer. The second question is, if you are emotionally stable in your practice, what steps are you taking to apply that stability in your daily life? Because remember, like Heinrich Cruz used to say, the dojo is the sanctorum for practice. No, to learn, excuse me, to learn. We come to the dojo to learn, The practice, the application takes place once the lesson is learned. The practice is after the dojo, not during. So the same thing in life. If you're practicing emotional stability in the dojo, in your practice, then what are you doing to apply those lessons in your daily life? And that's a very, very important question for all of us to reflect upon. Master Nishiyama, in his description of emotional stability, I'm reminded of this hurricane. And to me, emotional stability is being right here, right in the center. When you're in the center, nothing can touch you. You're perfectly safe. When you are emotionally unstable, you become part of this whirlwind that can tear you apart. And again, we ask ourselves, where are you in relation to the center for stability? Are you on the periphery or are you close to the center? Going to emotional stability. By the way, I have to share this with you. Master Nishiyama's passing has been 12 years now. It's been about 12 years, no, 8. Yeah, 12 years since his passed, almost 12 years. And I now believe that he was here before his time, because I reflect often on the information he shared with us, and I'm only now beginning to appreciate it. His understanding and his description of emotional stability is what research is showing. His description of emotional stability is what research is now flushing out in models. And one of those models I want to share with you here. So to practice emotional stability, what we need to be aware of is ourselves first. So self-awareness and then management of our emotions. So self-awareness, when you wake up in the morning, do you ask yourself, how am I feeling today? Before you engage in a conversation that you know with somebody that's going to really bother you, and we all have people that can really irritate us in life at times. Are you aware of how you're feeling at that time? Are you aware of your bodily sensations? How about your heartbeat just racing 100 miles an hour? How about your face flushing? Are you aware of those? And then once you are aware, are you managing your emotions? So being aware and managing. Karate teaches this to you, okay? And we're going to get into how right here very shortly. But again, personal competence for the management of your emotions based upon an awareness of your emotions is key to emotional stability. The other part is this, is social competence of your emotionality. Are you aware of your emotionality in relation to others? There are those who are going to bother you, like I said, especially family members, kids. Their behaviors have changed. How are you engaging with them? Are you engaging in self-awareness first before you engage in social awareness? And then how are you managing your personal relationships with others? Okay? Based upon your understanding of yourself. So we have personal competence and social competence. They are both key to emotional stability. Emotions drive everything. And I'm going to get into that here shortly, but I really want you to keep in mind personal competence, social competence. Let's talk about emotions. This is directly related to your self-awareness, your personal competence, and social competence. At any one time, we can go from depression and hopelessness to high excitement and passion and freedom I want you to ask yourself, just take a few seconds here. I want you to reflect upon the questions that I'm going to ask you. At what point in the day or in life have you experienced, or actually during this closure, have you experienced hopelessness? Do you experience anger and rage and fear at particular times of the day? Do you feel angry towards one person more so than somebody else? What is the cause of happiness in your life right now? How are you connecting with others, and how does that make you feel? In what ways do you engage in acceptance of others? What causes doubt? Do you experience this range of emotions at particular times of the day or with particular people? So these are the questions that I really would like you to start asking yourself, because they are going to help you with your social and personal competence, emotional competence, which is going to go back to what? This, which is key to you managing, reducing the stress and anxiety that you're experiencing, we're all experiencing. It's not so much what you think about, it's how you feel. Okay, in this page, on this slide, I want to share something here with you, and that's the relationship between body, mind, emotions, and behavior. Most of us are right here. Most of us are stuck in our minds. This is our inheritance in the Western world. We are very mind-oriented. We don't pay much attention to our emotionality. When stress, when emotions do surface, we don't know what to do because we're so focused on the thinking part. And I want you to know that there's a relationship between all four of these components, and they really are one. So what you feel, how you feel, is going to be expressed through sensations in the body. So if you're feeling alienated, you may feel headaches due to stress. That may cause muddled thinking, which may cause somebody to drink more. Okay? So your body feels sensations, your body stores, your body is the storehouse of your emotions. This is what I want you to know. This is where tension comes in your muscles, in your ligaments. The emotions are stored in the body. This is why you experience muscle twitches. This is why you have fatigue. Okay? The mind, like I said, is the part of the part that we spend so much time on. But the fact of the matter is, we are trying to handle something, we are trying to manipulate something that nobody has ever seen. Nobody knows what the mind is looking like. Nobody knows what the mind looks like because nobody has ever seen the mind. And the question for you is this, my friends: how can you control something that you've never seen before? It really is very difficult. So painting a picture of what the mind could look like is very important in order to control it, in order for us to do what? To reduce our anxiety and our stress by being emotionally stable, by also maintaining an attitude that is positive and is in the direction of what we want in life. So here's a picture of what the mind could look like. I'm gonna review this here with you. We're going to go over some key parts to this. By the way, Master Nishiyama also talked about painting pictures in the mind. What I'm going to share with you right now is what he shared with us in brief snippets of the information he tried to communicate to us in Fresno many years ago. And this, along with his words of wisdom, are based upon the science of Cybernetics. Okay? That's what this is based upon. Like I said, nobody has seen what the mind looks like. So when you have a visual picture of the mind, it makes it easier to control. We're visual animals. Okay? We see pictures first. So if I say to you pig, you're going to see a big pink pig in your mind first. You're not going to see the words P-I-G. You're going to see a pig. If I say cow, you'll see a picture of a cow immediately, not the words. Words are a representation of a visual image. That's all they are. So here's what I want you to think about. Think of this circle right here as your mind. Okay, this is your mind. Think of the top part of the circle as your conscious mind. This is the part of the mind that you're using right now. This is your thinking mind. The second half of the circle is your subconscious mind. This is your feeling mind. This is the storehouse of your belief systems. And I'm referencing here a word in particular called paradigms. Paradigms are your belief systems. What you think, how you feel determines the action that your body is going to take, which then produces the results that you are going to experience. Remember what Master Nishiyama used to say, mental preparation. Practice over again. Mental preparation. What are you thinking about at any given time? Are you thinking about what you don't have, which is producing feelings of lack, which then produces anxiety in your body, which then produces the same results that you don't want to experience? If that's the case and you want to do things differently, then we have to think differently, which means we are going to feel differently. If anyone's ever tried to go on a diet, ever wonder why diets fail to work? Ever wonder why gyms make so much money? Because after the first couple of weeks, people have paid a year's worth of membership and they're not going to go back. Why? Because belief systems that are driven by the subconscious mind, subconscious programming, your old belief systems are kicking up a hissy fit and they are not going to let go. They are not going to let go. You can have new thoughts about going to the gym every day, but your old habit of staying home and being comfortable is going to dominate unless and until the old way of thinking is replaced with a new thought, with a new belief system. So in this case, we're finding ourselves in a lockdown. And the question to ask ourselves is this: is the old belief system serving you? If not, what is your new way of thinking? And if you haven't invested the time in thinking about what you want in this new reality, now's the time. We've all got plenty of time. Again, I'm going to go back to the one of the opening slides. Are you a learner or are you the learned? Beautifully equipped for a world that no longer exists. So paradigms, like I said, this is the powerhouse of your belief systems. This is your feeling mind. We operate based upon feelings. Every car salesman knows that. Apple products knows that. Businesses sell to your heart, not your mind. This is why any good salesman who's going to sell you a vehicle is going to make sure you sit in that car first. because he wants you to have the new car smell. He wants you to experience that smooth shifting of those automatic gears and that smell of the new car. Well, who can resist that? The person who went in saying, all right, I'm only going to spend $15,000, all of a sudden is going to find an extra 10,000, 15,000, just like that. Why? Because they're thinking, they're operating with their feelings, not their thinking. And that is 95% of us. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but that's the reality. So the question for us when it comes to feelings is a very important one. And that's why I shared this slide with you. How do you feel at any given time? Are you here at the bottom in the black, or are you here at the top in the lavender? And what would it take for you to be at these higher feeling levels? Because remember, what you feel is also what you project. What you project is what you're going to get back. We won't talk about these faculties right here, maybe some other time. But what I want you to know is that for the conscious mind, we have these tools to help change the old way of thinking in the paradigm. Intuition, imagination, memory, reasoning, will, and perception. These are the tools of the mind to create different experiences that we want to have on a long-term basis. So my friends, this is the science of thinking. What you think about produces new belief systems, which causes your body to change, a body to respond to produce a new result. Now, I want you to think about karate. When we all began, you think about the technique, right? How many of us had a difficult time forming a fist? I certainly did. I want you to think back to the first time you practiced Hei Nidan. All right, how many times did you have to repeat that before you finally got it? You didn't have it here in your paradigm, so through the process of repetition, 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 it drove into your subconscious mind to where you can now do it in your sleep. The same thing with any belief system, but you have to first know, what do I want? Okay? If you don't know what you want, then you're just leaving things up to circumstance to dictate what you're going to experience, because the universe does not like a vacuum. That vacuum will be filled with something. It's better for you to fill that vacuum with what you want as opposed to leaving it to chance. We've all got one of these, my friends. And if you're like me, who gets easily lost in Southern California, especially downtown LA, I plug in my GPS location. Now, guess what's going to happen? Once that program is done, if you steer off course and you go somewhere else, what's the system going to say to you? Please take the next legal U-turn. And it's going to keep on doing that over and over and over again until you either comply or switch the damn thing off. Well, your paradigm is no different. It's going to keep on telling you to do what you've always done until you replace it with a new belief system. That again goes back to, what do you really want to experience? Have you taken the time to write out? Have you taken the time to think through on what you want? I'm going to use that word again, my friends, think. Okay, because you can't leave it to chance. What you think about is going to come about. And the emotionality involved with what you think about is so important, because our body responds according to how we feel. Now, I don't want to overwhelm you with so much, but one of my goals here, my friends, is to give you a lot to think about. Is it better to think about what you don't have and the suffering that you're experiencing? Or is it better to focus on what you want and create your plan on getting there? Okay? Either way, you're going to feel stress. Either way, you're going to feel anxious. So why not feel stressed or anxious about something that you want as opposed to something that no longer exists? This is one of my favorite quotes. It's by poet James Allen. Mind is the master power that molds and makes, and we are mind, and evermore we take. The tool of thought and shaping what we will brings forth 1,000 joys, 1,000 ills. Let me say that again. The tool of thought and shaping what we will brings forth 1,000 joys, 1,000 ills. We think in secret and it comes to pass. Our world is but our looking glass. So Mr. Allen knew a long time ago, just as many wise people before him, what we think about comes about. The reality that we experience is based upon what we think. And I want you to also keep in mind, my friends, that part of the mental preparation Master Nishiyama talked about was creating in your mind the outcome that you desire. In this case, it was a self-defense. He often used to say, in your mind, you have already experienced the outcome. The opponent is no longer there. They are done. They are flat. They are gone. In a similar way, with your thinking, I want you to ask yourself, have you created, I'm going to keep going, I'm going to keep going back to that question. Have you created the reality that you want to experience? And if you've not, now is the time to really think about it. I also want you to be very aware of your thoughts, especially your internal dialogue, the internal thinking. That is what is going to determine what you're going to experience. As Mr. Allen said, we think in secret and it comes to pass. He's talking about our internal dialogue. And the world is but our looking glass. Well, that's just the reality that we're going to experience based upon what we've thought. And so I'm going to share with you some simple strategies for you to be aware of and use as you go about in your daily life. This is called ANT, automatic negative thoughts. They are going to come up. They may come up right now. You may be thinking, what the hell is he talking about? Why didn't he share this with me right at the beginning? I can't stand this. I'm sweaty. I want to leave. Automatic negative thoughts, they're going to come up. Question is, what are you going to do with them? Are you going to attend to them? Or are you going to dismiss them? The best thing with any automatic negative thought, acknowledge that it's there and then dismiss it. Dismiss it with courtesy. If you dismiss it with hate and say, get the hell out of my mind, I can't stand you. Well, you've just energized something that you don't want. You're going to get more of what you don't want. ANT, automatic negative thoughts. The other thing is this, my friends, and I don't care how old you are. I'm going to be 50 years old in a few months. And the older I get, I ask myself every day, Bains, how do you want to look? How do you want to feel? I'm not going to leave it to chance. So I want you to ask yourself this question. Just take a few seconds. And now this is more important than before. I want you to ask yourself, how do you see yourself? As a human being, how do you see yourself? Just reflect on that question here for a few seconds. Second question, how do you think others see you? Third question, how do you want to be seen? That last question, my friends, is a very important one. We don't spend enough time. thinking about how we want to be seen. We just assume, I'm Randhir, well, everybody knows me. I think I'm a nice guy. I can get irritated sometimes, but yeah, I think I'm okay. I don't care really how I see others, I'm okay. Again, when we leave things to chance, circumstances will dictate what we're going to experience. Okay? Self-image, how you project yourself is based upon what? It's based upon your attitude. It's based upon how you feel. It's based upon your vantage point, points that we covered. Master Nishiyama talked about this as part of mental preparation. Are you projecting yourself as a victim? Are you projecting yourself as somebody who is confident in their ability to defend themselves? That same thought applies now more than ever. Are you projecting yourself as a human being who is emotionally prepared to defend themselves against automatic negative thoughts? Okay? Best self-defense is defense against negative thinking, negative emotionality. That's where it begins. That's self-defense right from the beginning, and everything comes right after that. So I strongly encourage you to take the time to ask yourself these questions, really dive into them. This is a strategy that I've shared with a lot of people. I'm going to share it with you because it's very effective. When you experience stress, when you are overwhelmed, and it can happen, it's happened to all of us, we're only human. The immediate thing I would encourage you to do, my friends, is stop everything immediately. Just stop, just freeze. Take a few deep breaths and settle yourself. And when I talk about breathing, here's what I'd like you to do. What I want you to do when you take any kind of breathing is breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. The reason for breathing in through the nose and out through the nose is because we are activating the parasympathetic nervous system. So there's a sympathetic nervous system, and then there's the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is, think of it as the fight-flight. So I'll give you an example. If you see a bear chasing you, you are not going to breathe through your nose. You're not going to go. No, that's what you're going to do. You're going to breathe through your mouth, and you're going to breathe very, very fast. Okay? Fight, flight. That's a very reactive mode. When you're trying to calm yourself, you breathe in and out of nose. Okay? And one little exercise that I would encourage you to practice is as follows. And then we're gonna show how to do this in Sessa, because we practice breathing every time. Okay? But I want you to be aware of Sessa in a different way. But for this exercise, what I want you to do is when you breathe, again, breathe in through the nose. Bring awareness to the tip of your nose. And you can keep your eyes closed, and then you exhale by concentrating on the tip of your nose. So as a matter of fact, let's do this as an exercise. What I'd like everybody to do is kind of sit up straight if you're able to. Kind of relax your shoulders. And then I want you to breathe in through your nose. Take 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale. Okay. So when you practice that way, you breathe in, hold, breathe out, hold 4 seconds each time. And you just have awareness at the tip of your nose. This is a very powerful exercise to help you become stable. Okay? Now, going back to that personal competence and social competence, when you're finding yourself in a situation where you just want to rip somebody's head off, disengage, just walk away, breathe. Breathe through your nose. Okay? Settle yourself. Mental preparation. As you breathe, observe your feelings. Okay? How are you feeling? Remember, we're feeling animals. When we feel, we're really engaged with our limbic system. Okay? Our feeling brain. That's where we are. And we want to come back to our thinking brain, the neocortex. That's really where we want to come back to. Observe how you feel. And take your time. Remember, there's no rush. There's no rush to this. And then proceed moving towards your endeavor. Now, notice what I said. Observe your feelings and associated thoughts and choose to focus back to what needs to get done. Now, you've got to know where you're going. Again, don't leave anything to chance. This goes back to what? What do you want? Where are you going in life? Okay? And then you proceed toward whatever it is that you need to do. This is a powerful exercise. I practice this. I've taught it to my sons. And I strongly encourage you to practice this. Now, Cesar, when I used to practice Cesar, I used to, one thing, I hated this. Why? Because it hurted my feet. The second thing is, it's like, I got stuff to do. I need to get out of here. But I recognize, you see, you have to go on this vision quest. You have to get outside of the karate world to experience what is there. And then you come back and you go, oh, geez, we had it here all the time. I always had it. In Cesar, you will find so much if you be fully attentive to, like what Master Nishiyama used to say, just eyes kind of like 4 feet ahead of you. Eyelids are not closed, but you're kind of just gazing 4 feet ahead of you, not intently, relaxed eyes. And then you breathe. You breathe in, breathe out through nose. Slight perching of the mouth is open. Right? And he used to emphasize this. I encourage you to think in terms of mental preparation, like I shared with you in the stop method in Cesar. It's a powerful experience. The only difference between the two is this. In Cesar, stomach is in, right? And chest is lifted when you breathe. In the stop method, allow your stomach to expand like a balloon. Karate people are very, very stiff. We are very stiff. And what I want you to do is to give yourself permission to relax your stomach, not hold it in all the time. Give yourself permission to expand your stomach like a balloon. When you breathe in, and then your stomach comes in when you exhale. So Cesar is much more than just, I have to do this and my feet hurt. It is part of mental preparation. It is part of emotional stability that Master Nishiyama taught us. The other thing is, something that Hanshi pointed out, is it's our release. It's our way of dealing with anxiety and stress. And he's absolutely right. The reason I'm sharing these pictures with you is because they highlight the importance of movement. You have to move. You have to be physical. If you've got stress, remember it's in the body. It's in the body. Emotionality is a physical experience. Okay, it's part of the limbic system, remember. The limbic, we won't get into all of that, but the release is through physical exercise, physical engagement, and that's a key way of releasing all of that stuff. By the way, I was very impressed in this picture by Master Asai's kick. Notice his spine is straight. Master Kanazawa, spine straight. Master Okazaki there at the bottom, spine straight. And I think this is Kanazawa again. Notice how the spines are straight, okay? But notice the agility in their bodies when they execute their technique, okay? So keep moving, keep doing it with a different appreciation of how your mind works. Very, very important. Now, the other thing is, I'm looking at time here. Okay, we've got a few minutes. How are you preparing yourself for the day? If you're like me, you've got a checklist for everything. That's good. The question is, do you have a mental preparation checklist? If you don't, now's the time to begin. Remember, begins with mental preparation. We talked about attitude. We talked about social competence. We talked about personal competence. We talked about perspective. You have choice in each of those. You can't control your circumstances. You can't control how people are going to respond to you, but you can certainly control those components of mental preparation. If you're not used to writing, my friends, I strongly encourage you to write down, and write down more. How you feel, what you're thinking about, who bothered you, who irritated you, who made you happy, what caused you to be happy. Write it down and reflect. See, this is all about thinking. It's about thinking about the right things. If you're not doing a gratitude list every day, I encourage you to do so. This is a very powerful exercise. Write down 10 things every day that you're grateful for. Part of what you should be, I wouldn't think you're grateful for today, is the karate lesson Llewelyn gave you today. Being grateful for the smallest things in life, like a cup of coffee or somebody's smile. Doesn't have to be anything big. It goes a long way. As part of your gratitude, my friends, what I would also encourage you to do is the following. I want you to identify one person who really bothered you and then send love to them. That one can be difficult, but it's all about mental preparation. Remember, it's not about that person, it's about you and your life and the quality of life you want to live, okay? Role model. We are all modeling our behavior towards somebody. Somebody's looking to you for guidance, and we're all there. With that, there comes compassion fatigue. There's only so much energy you have each day. So you've got to look after yourself first and foremost. Okay, you are of no use to anybody if you are on empty. Life priorities. Here's a great way to prioritize your life. This was given to me by my spiritual teacher. Right at the beginning, your meditation. In essence, what I mean by meditation, For right now, think of it as sesa. Think of it as just that simple breathing exercises, your mental preparation. Number 2 is physical health. We are students of karate. Continue to practice. Number 3 priority is family. Number 4 is work. Number 5 is community. The question for you, my friends, is, are your priorities right? Are they out of whack? You should be number 1. You should be right here. If you're not, that too could be a point of stress and anxiety in life. So take the time to examine how you've organized your life, how you've organized your day. This is what I want you to keep in mind. I've shared with you a lot of different thoughts, and hopefully I've given you a lot to think about here. And as you try some of these ideas, you're going to fail, and you're going to fail a lot. And I don't want you to think of failure as something bad. Failure is good. We should fail and fail often, because then that allows us to reflect on what we need to do differently. Success does not lead to success. Failure leads to success. And that's what we need to keep in mind. Remember what Master Nishiyama used to say, after doing kata, once more, just once more, just once more, one more time. He would do that for 15, 20 times. Same thing, over practice, like he used to say. Keep doing it. Repetition, repetition, repetition is the key to success, right? How many drills have you done today with Hanshi Llewelyn, right? It's about the repetition, whether you like it or not, but hopefully with a learner mindset, it's about repetition. But this time you're repeating something that you've not done before. So you're going from being very competent potentially at doing the wrong thing or the old thing to becoming incompetent at doing the new thing. Okay? With that, repetition, practice over again. And one of the final slides here, my friends, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Question is, what do you need to unlearn and relearn? We are all learned people in this gathering. We all know a lot of things. Question is, the reality that we're experiencing and the reality that we're going to experience is going to require us to unlearn a hell of a lot. And we have to be willing to relearn a hell of a lot, right? And that's what this is about. So we're going to go back to the opening slide. Karate begins and ends with the courtesy. So we have an opportunity to practice this precept, hopefully in a very different way, outside of the dojo, in a way that's going to help us with our emotionality, with our thinking, with our engagement with each other, but most importantly, the engagement with ourselves. Okay? So that's pretty much what I had, my friends. Any questions? Any thoughts, reflections? I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. I realize it's 12 o'clock and it's lunchtime and you have things to do, but I'll be more than happy to stick around.
I have a question for you, Mr. Bains.
Yeah.
What was the O and the P? I was busy writing and didn't catch those.
Oh. Proceed.
Proceed is a P, okay.
Yeah, proceed moving forward towards your endeavor.
And what was the O? Observe.
Observe your feelings.
Okay. Right.
Hanshi Bains,
Sure.
this is Laura. Might you be able to share this PowerPoint with us after the session is done, and maybe I could email it to people?
Yeah, I'll email it to you.
Perfect. That'll be great.
Yeah.
I think it was wonderful you sharing what your thoughts with us, and I certainly can relate to a lot of what you said, and many of the Nishiyama lessons.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So, and I love the picture of the old masters who are now all in the big dojo in the sky, but still
that's right.
never. They've influenced me, and all of them that you have represented there influenced me, and have influenced a lot of people around the world. So, yeah. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Of course, Cindy, Cynthia, it's good to see you. So here's what I'll do, my friends. I will share the PowerPoint with you, Dora. And if you'd like me to do any other presentations, if you'd like to have, unfortunately, I didn't have a Q&A built into this, let me know. I'll be more than happy to come on again. And like Heinz said, we are part of the ISKA family. So one of my responsibilities is to share with you what I can as family members of ISKA to support us in this time.
Sensei?
Yes. Yeah.
Liz here. Hi.
Hi, Liz.
First of all, I want to say thank you so much for this. This was really wonderful. This is right up my alley.
Good,
but
good.
I wanted to make just a quick comment. Something that I have found to be helpful during this time is to look at something positive. And by that, I mean even just simple stuff like, I've never had so many people say hello to me before. Everyone on the street seems to say hello and simply does really care about what's going on. And the other day I was walking and someone was mowing the lawn and it just smelled so wonderful after the rain. And I know these sound a little silly, but my observations are that, I mean, these are the small things that I'm now noticing. I've never spent more time with my family and friends on virtual times together. So as difficult as this time is, I just try to take some of the positive maybe that's come out of that. And that's what's been helpful to me.
Very good. Thank you, Liz. You know, I've had the same experience. I've had a very similar experience, I should say. Just the sight of a child walking by. Just a courteous exchange while waiting to cross a sidewalk. Just little things I'm noticing. Before I didn't, in the hustle and bustle of life, it was like, I've got to get to LA Union and you better get out of my way because I'm going to get a good seat. So, so I don't have to experience that anymore. So I can relate to what you just said.
Sure.
Okay, very good. So unless there's any other questions, my friends, I think we can call it a day. And like I said, let me know if you need me again. I'd be more than happy to put some things together for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Namaste.
Wonderful.
Namaste, Os.
Thank you for joining us. This was really great.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Everybody enjoy the weekend, rest of the weekend, and
You
see you
too.
all on too. All right. And thank you, Mr. Bain.
Thank you very much.